When did you know something's just not right here?
I knew about the top of the year of this year that, man, I'm starting to feel low again. And I was just like, just fight it, just fight it. You've been here before, so great, I'm identifying it, just fight it. And I just didn't do enough to not get to the bottom of the pit. So for months, I was slipping and slipping and slipping. Before you know it, I was at the bottom of the pit looking up like, oh my God, am I really here again? And I suffered by myself. I didn't want to tell anybody. He didn't know until I went to the hospital. I didn't want anyone to be like, oh my gosh, here we go again.
So I want to talk about this issue, depression, and I really commend Michelle for coming out and talking about how depression affects her. This is a really good interview because people don't really understand depression, and especially if you never experienced depression. Now, me, my own self, when I was pregnant with each one of my children, it threw my hormones off so bad, and I was so depressed. And it's not just a normal sadness, it is a slump. It is really a slump. And I never understood depression fully until I experienced it myself. And the first times when I was pregnant, I didn't really understand what I was going through. I just thought it was just sadness. I thought that, things around me. I didn't know what it was. It wasn't until my last pregnancy I realized that, okay, this is related to the pregnancy. And I think my last pregnancy probably was the worst. And when I say you don't understand it until you go through it, it is a really, really difficult thing to understand. And if you're talking to someone about it and you're trying to encourage them, it's so tempting to just tell them to look at the bright side, because I myself have done this, and it's still hard for me to not to tell them to look at the bright side and look at things, because it's not something outer, it's something inward. I always thought, oh man, like when people commit suicide, I always thought, oh man, I would sell everything. I would, move to an island. I would live on the island before I decided to take my own life. I just don't understand how people commit suicide. But when I say it's an inward thing, it doesn't matter what's happening to you on the outside. And this is a perfect example how Michelle, everything great was going for her, with the Coachella, with her new fiance, everything great. And you think, okay, now, looking in as a family member or a friend of a depressed person, you're thinking, okay, everything is going great for her or him, and they're going to be happy. But it's not the outward things. It's an inward feeling. It's a feeling of doom and gloom. It is so low, and especially at nighttime. And you just laying there with all these thoughts and all these things in your head, like, what is my purpose? Why am I even here? Everything that she said is just so sad. The best way I can describe it is, imagine losing someone very close to you, and that deep feeling of sadness. Well, that is a feeling that you have when you are depressed, but it's not attached to any specific thing. It is just the feeling there. So everything good could be happening, and you'll still have this feeling, and it just won't go away. It's like a continual grieving period. And if everything is going great for you, you feel so ungrateful. You feel like, well, dang, all this is going good for me. Why am I feeling this way? Snap out of it. Come on, get it together. But it won't go away. And on the flip side of that, let's say if you are having little issues, well, it will magnify all those little issues that you're having. Let's say if your car goes down, you feel like, oh, nothing can ever go right for me. Or if you're getting into it with your loved one or your spouse, you're like, oh, he didn't call me to get day. He thinks I'm worthless, or, it'll magnify any issue that you're having. And if you don't identify it as depression, you won't know. You would just think that everything in my life is going wrong and this is why I feel this way. The first step is identifying that it is in fact depression. If you have low energy, you feel anxious, worthless, hopeless, helpless, feeling guilty, can't get to sleep at night, these are some of the symptoms of depression. I remember when I was pregnant, I would just lock myself in the bathroom, get a blanket, and just cry for hours. And I remember going out to the car, and I would just sit in the car and I would just cry. And when I came back in, I would pretend like nothing ever happened. But I would just try to hide these feelings because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know why I was feeling so low. But I just knew that I was feeling sad all the time. So I completely empathize with a person who is experiencing depression. And it's something that is very sensitive, and you don't want the world to know because it just makes you feel so naked opening up to others about this. But it is an illness that a lot of people deal with at some point in their life. Secondly, you want to talk to somebody about the issue that you're having. Just let them know what you're going through, somebody that you trust, so you can get help. And there is so many different treatments out there. I myself personally like cognitive appraisal, and just try to understand that a lot of people go through depression. It is not your fault. You are not crazy. It's okay to check into a mental institution. It's okay to talk to a psychologist or a therapist. It's okay to do these things. And in closing, I just want to speak to the people who have family and friends that are dealing with depression. I just want to give you some advice. Just be a listening ear. You don't have to just bombard them with treatment and tell them to snap out of it and try to tell them, okay, well, it's not that serious, and think about. It's so tempting to do, especially for myself, because I am a problem solver and I do have a background in psychology. So it's so tempting to want to just solve their problem. But we have to understand, we are not there to fix a person. Okay? You can only help and assist and aid a person, but you cannot fix a person. And I know there's a lot of guilt there because you want your loved ones to thrive and you want to just get them out of their slump. You just want to fix it for them, but you can't. You can only help them. And just telling them to just get out of it and look at the bright side, and here, if you follow this plan, you'll be better. All of that doesn't matter, because it's something that is within. It's a sadness that you just can't let go of by fixing outward things. Okay? Now, there are things that the person can do to help themselves. But again, let them ask you for advice. Feel the conversation. If it sounds like they're wanting help, then you can offer things that may assist them with depression. But it's a chronic illness, and there is a plethora of treatment out there. I can't even begin to name all the treatments out there. But again, just be a listening ear and just let go of that cape. Let go of that wanting to fix people and just make it all okay. Okay, so I hope this helps someone. If you are a person battling with depression, my prayers are with you. Like I said, with my pregnancy, I dealt with it and it was extremely heavy. Good thing is there are so many successful treatments. You can get help. You will get better. There are so many happy days in your future. This is something that happened to you, but you're going to get the best of it, and you will have a happy, successful life. You are not alone. So that's all I want to talk about today, and hope you guys like, share, and subscribe.